The word polyphony is Greek for many voices. Like Polyphony Lit, our local libraries are filled with the many voices of authors, all with a variety of different experiences and perspectives to offer. But not everyone has equal access to hearing these voices. In recent years, there has been a rise in book bans across the United States. Many of these bans have been targeting books written by queer authors or discussing queer experiences in an effort to get them removed from library shelves. In this blog series, you will be introduced to the many voices of authors sharing their perspectives and experiences as part of the LGBTQ+ community through creative writing and articles. To kick off the series, we are interviewing Erin Cain. Erin is a public reference librarian who has the bad habit of checking out any book that sounds remotely interesting, resulting in a TBR list taller than she is. She also plays way too many video games.
Okay, so personally I feel like anyone should be able to access any book that they like. It is not up to us to tell people what they can and can't read. Now I think a lot of it comes from parents talking with their kids and maybe talking about material that they might think is too controversial or too advanced for them. Like a book that a parent does not agree with. They might want to talk to their children about that book versus banning the book outright. But, like I said, it's not up for librarians to determine what people can and can't read. Not up for teachers to determine what kids can and can't read. Ultimately, it comes down to parents and what they are comfortable talking to their kids with, which I don't even want to say what they're comfortable with, because sometimes hard topics are going to come up, and I think that's just part of parenting, and no one likes when those kinds of questions comes up, but they do, and I don't think anyone's ever really prepared for them, but as I said, it is a part of being a parent, or raising a child, you know. Now, the current book bans going on right now, I do think they disproportionately affect LGBT youth. Not even just youth, just LGBT community in general. They are the books that are challenged the most. I think it's because people who aren't familiar with the community or people who aren't okay with the community see that as adult content. And they think that it is going to corrupt their children, is what I've heard, but they think it's going to negatively impact their children. So as a result, book bannings, especially on LGBT materials, make it so that kids, especially who are questioning themselves, questioning their identity, it makes it harder for them to access those books. So they could have a harder time figuring out who they are. So, towards youth in general, kids are learning how to read and form critical thought and look at a piece of work and analyze it. So, that is a very important development stage of their life. And you're not going to read all books that you agree with. There are people out there that have different opinions. And just because you read a book doesn't mean you agree with what's being said. But reading books that are written by people unlike you can broaden your mindset, broaden your point of view, and lead you to accept other people. Personally, I am careful with what I promote. Like such as putting books out in displays and things like that. I think more about, hey, if I put this out, is someone going to put up a fuss about it? I also personally do posting for my library's Facebook, and I have to watch what topics we post about, because something that might be uneventful to me might be very politically charged to other people. So if there's any kind of angle that someone might attack it, I kind of shy away from that. Now personally, I have not had had people complain or anything like that about book bannings. Just people saying, you know, oh, these people banning all these books, that's ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. But usually the books that they're talking about are like To Kill a Mockingbird, Catcher in the Rye, classics that have been around a while that we don't really know why they're banned anymore. Like, like To Kill a Mockingbird was a hot book when it came out, and people, you know, debated it and were on opposite sides of it. But like now it's viewed as a classic, and I mean, almost everyone reads that book now. So, yeah, the people who talk to me about book banning, they're usually just talking about the more well-known titles that we think of when we think of book banning. I think recently a local library actually lost some of its funding because its user base was upset that they were handing out adult books to children, and by that I mean LGBTQ books to people underage. So not necessarily anything adult in there, or maybe not anything more adult than in straight books, but since these are touchy subjects for people, yeah, I think a local library lost its funding over something like that. So, yeah, I think they were partially successful in getting some of it back. Some of the community that weren't upset up in arms came to defend them. But, yeah, it's an ongoing battle with that. Yeah. I personally don't remember having any trouble accessing books. Whether that was begging my mom to buy them, or whenever I ended up with my own job, just going out and buying them myself. Let's see. An influential book, I think probably one of the most influential for me growing up was The Perks of Being a Wallflower. You know, about a young 15-year-old boy in his freshman year at high school, very afraid, very quiet, and just him figuring out his place and figuring out who his friends are, figuring out who he himself is. And not only that, but one of his closest friends is a gay student, and seeing that just so unflinchingly just in that book. Yeah, one of my favorite books still to this day. I used to read it once a year, and and I had to stop. I've gotten to other books since then, but yeah, one of my favorites. Yeah, so how important is it? I think it's important for kids who aren't even considering that they're part of the community or on the LGBT spectrum, just learning that it's there, that it exists, that there are people who aren't the same as them. Being around people who are unlike them, it gives you a different worldview. It gives you different opinions. It makes you more understanding of different cultures, different ideas, different lifestyles. And like I said, just knowing that it exists is very helpful, especially to the LGBT community, who sometimes are afraid of, you know, interacting with people who might not understand them. Libraries, personally, I think that the point of a library is to offer media, books, DVDs, comics, video games, from all different points of view. So a library should not push one certain mindset, but a library should have a variety of options from all different walks of life. And, you know, just because an LGBT book might be in the library doesn't mean we're pushing it. But for all, like, the LGBT books that we might have, we also have straight romances too. So it's just a matter of offering all different views to different people who might be interested in reading them. My library doesn't offer too much, to be honest with you. We offer books, we offer we offer like those handouts that you might get, like difficult questions to ask, things like that. I personally am trying to start up like a LGBTQ book club, thinking about making it virtual and just letting people remain anonymous if they want to. But I think libraries could also, like if the local school does not have they used to call them gay straight alliances, I don't know if they call them that anymore, but maybe if the local school does not have that, offering that kind of meeting or environment for teens who might be interested. Let's see, what else could we do? I think that the librarians should know what those materials are, like LGBTQ materials that we have, where to point it out to people if they are interested, if necessary, how to handle that kind of conversation, like a sensitive topic conversation. Just be ready for questions and be able to point people in the right direction. Not to judge, nothing like that, but just to lead somewhere to where they want to go. I think that's an important skill for library workers to have. So, I mean, personally, I have pointed out books and offered book recommendations, given people like, hey, if you like this, you might want to read this. Or, I'm probably not supposed to, but if I had someone recently check out a LGBTQ comic, and I said, oh, I love that comic because I've read it before. And we got to talking about that, and I kind of felt like I was making them feel safe about choosing that book to take out. But again, we're not really supposed to comment on what you're taking out of the library. For resources, no, I don't really think I've pointed out anything. The most I can really think of is like we have a list of LGBTQ friendly shelters that people might want to look into if they're having trouble, if they want to go somewhere. Other than that, I think I've also suggested like different LGBTQ friendly events that are going on, but that's probably about it for me personally. Let me go get it. Perhaps it's a little bit cliche because this has been the most banned book, I think twice, maybe 3 times now in the past 3 years, and I've read this book. There's maybe one questionable scene that might be considered more, that's not child friendly, but like this book is someone figuring out their gender identity. And to hear the story, or to read the story of this person, what they went through, just their thought process, if you read it, it helps people know that they're not alone if they're going through the same thing. The author who wrote this is talking about the struggles that they had coming to terms and understanding and accepting who they were. And it took a while for them to do so. But once they did, it's a great feeling to understand who you are and to accept yourself for that. And the author, I know, is actually on a blogging website that I'm on, and I follow them. And they have said multiple times, they are the most banned book for the past, like I said, 2 or 3 years. But keep reading it. Keep reading it. And even if you're comfortable in your gender and you know what you are or who you are, just reading it to understand what other people's thought processes and inner turmoil is like. It was eye-opening, I think. So yes, genderqueer.